He picked up a random cardboard box. At the local junkyard, just a soggy, torn box someone had thrown away, along with broken toys, old clothes, and rusted metal. He took it home because he liked recycling old paper for his small art projects. But inside that box was something no one expected, something the world believed was lost, something collectors searched for decades, something worth more than everything he had ever earned in his entire life. Inside that trash box was one of the rarest comic books on Earth, a legendary issue that sold at auction for over $1 million. And the story of how he found it is even crazier than what was inside. His name was Evan Brooks, 29 years old, worked part-time at a grocery store, barely made enough to pay rent and feed himself. He didn't have a savings account. He didn't have a car. He didn't have dreams anymore. But he did have one strange hobby. He collected old paper and magazines from the recycling center to use in collage artworks. His art didn't sell. No one cared about it. He made it for himself, as a quiet escape from a loud world. One Saturday morning, he biked to the local junkyard, a place where people threw away anything they no longer wanted. He always checked the cardboard section. Sometimes he found vintage magazines or old catalogs for free. He didn't know that today he would pick up a simple cardboard box that would change his life forever. The cardboard box was nothing special. Brown, faded, ripped on one corner. It looked like someone had stored books in it 4 years in a basement before finally tossing it out. Evan grabbed it because it felt heavy. Heavy usually meant paper, and paper meant good material for his collages. He carried it to his bicycle, strapping it to the back with bungee cords. The junkyard worker shouted, "You sure you want that? It's all moldy trash." Evan smiled politely. "Yeah, it's perfect." He had no idea how perfect. Back at home, Evan placed the box on his tiny kitchen table. The apartment was cramped, peeling wallpaper, rattling fridge, a single window overlooking the brick wall of the building next door. He opened the box carefully to avoid tearing any pages inside. The first layer was junk: old newspaper, wrinkled birthday cards, mildewed magazines. He threw them aside. Then something caught his eye. Plastic sleeve, clear, intact. Inside was a comic book. The cover was bright, despite the dust. He wiped the sleeve with his shirt. His hands froze. His heart started racing. On the top of the cover, in stylized golden letters, was the title, Amazing Fantasy Number 15. Evan whispered, "No way, this can't be real." Amazing Fantasy Number 15, the comic where Spider-Man appears for the first time. One of the rarest and most valuable comic books on Earth. The last time Evan checked, a good condition copy, sold at auction, for $1, for $1 million. He laughed nervously. No, this must be a reprint. A fake. A joke. He put it aside, but then he saw another comic in the box. Then another. Then more. There were 12 comics in total, all inside protective sleeves, and many of them were Golden Age classics. But he didn't dare touch the first one again. Not yet. Evan sat on the edge of his chair, his hands shaking. He typed into Google, "How to identify an original Amazing Fantasy Number 15. He found a checklist: page color, paper texture, print alignment, indicia font, price box, 1962 print markers, staple placement, spine wear. He placed the comic still in its sleeve, under better light. The details matched too perfectly. He found a 4K resolution scan of an authenticated copy. He compared it pixel by pixel. Every mark, every line, every shadow. It was identical. Evan started sweating. His breathing grew shallow. His apartment suddenly felt too small. No, this is impossible. He checked the spine. Original staples. Original color. Original print bleed. He checked the pricing box. Original 12 cents. He checked the interior pages. Carefully. using gloves he normally used for his artwork. The paper was aged, yellowed naturally, not artificially. This wasn't a reprint. This wasn't a replica. This was the real thing, a $1 million comic. Found in a trash box, he dropped into his chair. His hands covered his face, and for the first time in years, he cried. Inside the box, beneath the comics, Evan saw something else, a small envelope with handwriting on the front. For whoever finds this. Evan swallowed hard. He opened the envelope. Inside was a letter. The handwriting was shaky, old, faded in some spots. It read, "If you are reading this, then I have passed away. These comics belong to my younger brother, who died in 1963. I never had the heart to sell them. I kept them safe for 60 years, but I have no family left. So if you found them, they are yours. Please take care of them. They meant the world to him." The letter was signed, Arthur W. Collins. Evan felt goosebumps crawl up his arms. He read the letter twice, 3 times. All at once, the comics weren't just valuable. They were precious, loved, protected, forgotten only because time takes everyone eventually. Someone had treasured them deeply, and now that someone had passed them on to the only person who bothered to pick up a box from the trash. Evan whispered, "I'll take care of them, promise." Evan stared at the comics for a long time. Part of him wanted to scream with joy. Another part of him felt terrified. What if they're fake? What if I'm wrong? What if I get scammed? What if someone knows about these already? His thoughts spiraled. He sat in his kitchen, knees pulled to his chest, breathing fast. This wasn't like finding a rare toy or a cool vintage magazine. This was a comic worth over $1 million. One mistake, and he could lose everything. So he did something brave. He reached out for help. Evan spent hours researching the best comic book graders. Collectors online repeated one name, Alden Price, the best authenticator in the state. Alden was a retired archivist who spent 40 years working with Golden Age comics. He was known for being painfully honest and impossible to fool. Evan found his number and called. The voice on the other end was calm, old, slow. "Hello. Hi. I think I found something. A comic. An old one." "What issue?" Alden asked. "Amazing Fantasy." Alden interrupted instantly. "Number 15? Evan swallowed. "Yes." Silence. A long silence. Then the old man said, "Son, you'd better come over right now." Alden lived in a quiet neighborhood, in a house filled with books, boxes, and framed vintage covers. He greeted Evan politely, but the moment he saw the plastic sleeve, his eyes sharpened. "Put it on the table, carefully." Evan did. Alden wore white cotton gloves and adjusted a bright lamp over the table. For the next 20 minutes, he didn't speak a word. He inspected the ink saturation, the staple oxidation, the paper fibers, the registration marks, the interior page tone, the margin cuts, the press alignment, the 1962 print odor. Yes, experts can tell. Then he put the comic down and removed his glasses. He leaned back slowly. Evan held his breath. Alden finally said, "Son, this is real." Evan's heart felt like it stopped. Alden continued, "This is an original 1962 first printing. Not restored, not altered, not a reprint. This is authentic." Evan exhaled shakily. How much is it worth?" Alden tapped the corner of the sleeve. "In this condition, based on the crispness of the colors, the page preservation, and the original staples." He paused. "This comic could fetch $1 million to $1.4 million at auction." Evan covered his mouth with both hands. He felt the room spin. Alden smiled kindly. "You found something extraordinary. Don't rush. Don't tell anyone. Don't post online. Collectors can be dangerous when this much money is involved." Evan nodded. He didn't trust his voice. When he arrived home, Evan's mailbox was open. Inside was a plain white envelope, with no return address. He opened it. Inside was a single sentence. "We know what you found." Evan froze. His skin went cold. He looked around his apartment complex. Nothing unusual, just neighbors walking dogs and kids playing. But someone had been here, someone who knew, someone watching. His hands shook. As he locked his door, he checked the windows, closed the blinds. His heart pounded against his ribs. Who sent this? How? Why? He didn't have answers, but he had the comic, and he had to protect it. The next morning, Alden called. "I have a friend at Heritage Auctions," he said. "They handle the biggest comic sales in the country. If you trust me, I'll take you there." Evan hesitated. He didn't trust much in life, but he trusted Alden. "Okay," he said. They drove 3 hours to a tall glass building filled with historic collectibles. Inside, a woman named Marilyn Chun, one of the top comic brokers in the world, greeted them. She examined the comic carefully and said, "If this grades above 8.0, you're looking at a sale between $1, $2 million and $1 per million." Evan nearly collapsed. Marilyn smiled. "We'll send it to grading. If it's authentic, which it is, you're about to become a wealthy man." Alden whispered to Evan, "You see? You did the right thing." But Evan still couldn't relax. He kept thinking about the letter. "We know what you found. Professional grading can take weeks. Weeks of waiting. Weeks of anxiety. Weeks of checking the locks twice. And the windows 3 times. Every day felt like torture. At work, he couldn't focus. At home, he couldn't sleep. He kept replaying the same thought. What if someone tries to take it? What if they already know where it is? What if I lose everything before the auction? His phone buzzed one night. A text message from an unknown number. "Sell it to us privately. Cash. No questions." Evan dropped his phone. His hands trembled violently. Alden told him, "Ignore them. They will go away once the auction is official." But Evan wasn't sure. He felt watched, followed, haunted, but he held on, praying the grading results would come soon. 3 weeks later, Evan received an email from the grading company. Subject line, "Your comic has been officially certified." His heart pounded so loudly, he could barely hear himself breathe. He opened the email. The message read, "Amazing Fantasy number 15, grade 8.5, very fine plus." Evan's chair nearly fell backward. 8.5. A near-mint vintage comic from 1962. This was almost unheard of. Most surviving copies were graded 3, 4, maybe 5. Alden let out a shaky laugh. "Son, this is one of the best preserved copies in existence." Then he added, "At auction, you're looking at $1, $3 million minimum." Evan covered his face with both hands. He didn't speak for almost a full minute. His life had just changed. In one single email, Evan stepped outside to breathe. A cold wind swept through the street. That's when he noticed it. A black SUV parked at the corner. Engine running. Windows tinted. The same kind he had seen earlier. A man stood outside, leaning against the hood, arms crossed, watching him silently. Evan froze. The man didn't approach, didn't speak. He only stared. Then he got into the SUV and drove away slowly. Evan rushed back inside and locked the door. This was no coincidence. Someone wanted that comic. Someone who didn't care about auctions, or legality, or fairness. Heritage Auctions scheduled the comic for their biggest event of the year. Collectors from all over the world attended. Brokers, investors, private buyers, even celebrities. The comic was displayed in a bulletproof glass case, spotlights shining down upon it, like a crown jewel. Evan stood beside Alden, feeling sick with anxiety. Marilyn approached. "Are you ready?" Evan swallowed. "I don't know." She smiled warmly. "You will be." The bidding began at $750,000. A man in the front row immediately shouted, 1 million. Then another bidder raised. 1 million. Another. 1, 2. Then it jumped faster. 1, 25. 1, 3. 1, 32. 1, 35. Evan gripped the railing. He felt his knees wobble. When the bid reached $1,400,000, the room went silent. No one countered. The auctioneer slammed the gavel. Sold for $4 million. The crowd applauded. Evan didn't move. He couldn't. Tears filled his eyes. Alden whispered, "You did it. Your life is yours again." 2 weeks later, after taxes and auction fees, the money arrived in Evan's account. The number was unreal. $1,127,000. 44. He stared at the screen, his hands shaking violently. He had never seen more than $500 in his account before. Now he was a millionaire. But what mattered most to him was that it finally felt like life had given him a break. A real break. The kind that changes everything. Before doing anything else with the money, Evan returned to the junkyard. He asked the owner if he knew who threw the cardboard box away. The man shrugged. Old lady passed away. Her house was cleaned out. Family didn't want anything. Evan stood there quietly, thinking about the letter. Arthur W. Collins had protected those comics for decades, for the memory of his younger brother. So Evan kept his promise. He donated $100,000 to a children's hospital in the Collins family name, another $50,000 to a charity supporting young artists. Felt right. It felt like honoring the story behind the comic, not just the money it brought. With the rest of the money, Evan bought a small house, his first, quit his low-paying job, started creating art full-time, opened a gallery showcasing recycled materials, helped local students buy art supplies, traveled for the first time in his life. People asked him, "What's it like being a millionaire?" Evan always smiled and said, "It's not about the money. It's about being seen by luck. After a lifetime of being invisible." This story isn't about trash, or comics, or luck. It's about this. Sometimes the universe hides miracles in places everyone else ignores. A box no one wanted, a treasure no one recognized, a gift left behind by a man who simply wanted his brother's memory to live on. Hundreds of people could have picked up that box, but only Evan did, because sometimes life waits until the right person reaches out their hand at the right moment, and when he opened that box, his whole world changed.